Welcome to yet another edition of Still Uncaptured with myself, Undumiso Ngobo Iqadi, Umapoloba by some other people, and
So many names, so little time. If we're to go through all your names, like we'd be halfway through the program. My name is Khumutso Matsunyani, and welcome to the show.
also known because you know what you saved as on my phone. When you call me, you know what I've saved you as. Shorty. And what do you call me?
Makanda, Mac. But it is I've shortened it to Mac, so nobody knows what it means. And we say that because that's a body shaming of sorts.
It is body shaming.
It is body shaming, right?
Body
Okay, but it's body
shaming.
shaming amongst friends.
Yes, of
But
course.
we want to talk about body shaming in general because you think I'm a notorious body shamer.
Of course you are. Yes, you are.
But it's not like I shame people to themselves. I might gossip a little bit, or like, boy, he's got a really big head, or like, whoa, he's got a really big butt, or something like that, right?
Okay.
No, I won't go to you and say like you've got a really big butt.
Yeah, but you will say, hey, ukhona minister, hey, that you just want to be like, yo, kwenzakalani la eswini sikanobaba? Sisi sikanobaba.
Minerals?
We're bad. Do you see what I mean? Do you see what I mean?
But have you seen Mkaba wa Ntato Gwizi? Woo! Okay, we're talking about body shaming,
Yes.
which is not politically correct.
It's not.
And it's not pleasant when it's done to you.
Of course it's not.
I'm notoriously short, right?
Yeah.
I'm like 5 foot, not 5 foot. I wish.
You wish.
I wish I was 5 foot, 4'10".
Yeah.
I don't know what it is in centimeters. Isn't that weird?
I think that's about sort of 1.5 odd.
Okay.
I think you're just about 1.5 meters.
About.
You know the meter stick.
I know the meter
Plus
stick.
half.
Plus half.
Plus half.
Okay, that can make sense.
And I remember because I was your head writer at SABC Late Night with Khumutso, right? And one of the guests you once had was one Ntate, baby Jake Matlala, who was also not. I remember that's when I realized I'm like, oh my God, like I have an issue. These people are short. They are freaking me out. Because I think he's like he was like an inch.
He wasn't. He was exactly my height.
Exactly your height.
Baby Jake Matlala was 4'10". Beslingana, no baby Jake. But he had a hell of a punch.
Which for a man, I mean, I'm not a short man. I am, by I suppose international standards. I'd be considered short in South African terms because I'm about 1.71, 1.72 centimeters, which is like the average height in South Africa. Because I mean, South African men, we short. We're short. I mean, in Nigeria, and I use this word advisedly. In Nigeria, I'm a midget. Right. You and I have been in Lagos. Everyone in Nigeria, even the women were taller than me.
Of course,
the average Nigerian woman is taller than me.
Right.
But you are borderline. You've always liked to say this, like you were borderline. You almost got into dwarfism, didn't you?
I almost didn't.
Almost.
But the point is,
yeah.
Kinale complex
about your height.
Oh, I have a serious complex about my height, right? So it doesn't help that when people see me, that's the first and only thing that they want to talk about. Yeah. God damn, you short. Or like, hey, umukhutswane. Like, it's not a nice greeting. And at that point, I shut down. If that's how you're going to come at me, I can see myself. I'm ridiculously short. I know that. Why do you have to point it out to me? Toilet. You're as short as the trip to the bathroom.
And I've seen you react to people when they have come at you with that whole short thing.
And it's not pretty.
And there are certain people that I've introduced you and they started on this and I had to say, don't do that. Don't do that. Because I've seen you get really snarky with people when I mean, I remember.
It's a defense mechanism.
I remember this one.
Wanqala.
44 Stanley at Auckland Park. You and I are walking to that Pick and Pay that used to be opposite 44 Stanley. I think there was a gym there. I don't know if that gym still, Planet Fitness or something, right? And we were walking, and this woman comes and says, "Yo, hey, umfushane." And you just looked at her and said, "Hey, I try. Because I mean, I put on, you can see, I've got platforms on, but there's only so much I can do about my height. So let's talk about that. Here's a gym here. Let's talk about you and your size. You can do something about your size." Because Black people, guys, can we talk about this, guys? Guys, it is not a greeting. It's not a form. It's not an acceptable form of greeting that when you meet me, you say to me, "Yo, why are you going straight for my weight? I know, I can see my gut. I've got a scale in my bathroom. I know.
Right.
Why are you telling me that I've gained weight? It's not nice.
Unoneyang. It's not a nice way to introduce a conversation.
Yes.
And also, like, we better have, maybe if we're like friends or something. But I find even with relatives, I just get to a point where it's just like wampora. You're really, because here's the thing. There is nothing I can do to be taller.
Of course, yeah.
That moment passed when I was a kid. Maybe then we could have done something. And my mother gave us dairy shem, so there was enough calcium. So I don't understand why we didn't grow great.
Nami, I mean, a lot of people when they meet me, right? Because I always go, when you're a man, particularly boys, sikhula ngokugwarana. So we were always making fun of each other and so on. Now, by the time I think I was 10, I was over the fact that people used to call me usmehleza, unguzunga, because of the size of my head. But then when people meet me in real life, they always go, "Oh, your head is not half as big." Because I always go there. I tell people before they meet me on social media, I talk about how big my head is.
Yes, it's one thing if you bring it up.
Yes, yeah.
But if somebody else brings it up, then it can be a bit of a sensitive issue. So I'm curious, and it's too, like, I want people to engage with us on social media and like on Spotify, or like, what are you so sensitive about when it comes to your looks that you react semi-violently to when people sort of like bring it up? What characteristics do you have that you wish you could change,
but also that you wish people would just let go?
Yeah.
I mean, if you dark. So for instance, my wife Utebogo is very dark. Not really that dark, but she's dark. She's a very dark-skinned woman, and she also, used to be called something. What is the other thing about when someone is dark? As if Maricha, something about Maricha.
I don't know.
Okay, man. I should have actually written it down, right? But she used to be called all of that, and she used to be likened to coal. Would you as dark as coal and so forth. And I grew up being told, I mean, Jesus, the number of names I have been called. I mean, I have friends who, when they meet me, go, "Melon, watermelon," because the size of my head.
Right.
Twaliche. I was called Twaliche. I've been called 10 over 1. I've been called Unguzunga, Usqameza, Usmehleza, all kinds of. I've been called Wobas.
Wow.
Oshkosh.
Oh my
God. Every name.
But I suppose it's
by the time I was 10, I actually didn't care.
Right. Because you were skinny growing up,
I was
right?
very skinny, yeah.
Right. So your head might have seemed disproportional, but it's not bad, yes. You're right.
You know how someone loves you is when they say that to you. Like,
it's not bad.
Your head is not.
Let me tell you what my mother said to me the other day.
Yeah.
I'm undressing in front of her because I used the shower in her bedroom.
Yeah.
She's like, "Are you sure you're not pregnant?" The way Umkaba Wami is out of control right now. She was just like, "Are you sure
Are
you're
you
not pregnant?"
sure?
No, because now I look at it and it's like, God dang, girl.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like, I could be 7 months pregnant.
Yeah.
It's okay. We're gonna work on it. I know umkabanje. Weight I can work on. My height I can't. That's the difference.
And speaking of your mom, I mean, that's exactly. I was also raised by a mother who's a nurse, who every single friend that I've ever had in my life, my mother has body shamed. So like someone will come looking for me, I'm not home. So when I come back home, my mom is like, "Hey, kind of figure lo say ho." Ngithi, what do you mean? Uthe? It's like, no, he's like, oh. And then I would know shame. Eish, Kimenzi. I had a friend who had like serious bug teeth, So my mom
Orthodontically challenged.
orthodontically challenged. So I just used to know, but no, your friend, there was even a friend who had arms that were not the same length, Like it was quite like a serious thing. And I got a fungalwana, like, oh, mama.
Our parents were worse.
No, they were body
Significantly
shamers,
worse. That's why I made the point, like,
yeah.
it's not like I'll go out and tell and bring it to people's attention.
Attention,
I see
yes.
your deficiency kind of thing, or whatever it is that I see about you.
Yeah.
I might gossip about it to someone a bit
Yeah.
closer. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's the way I was raised, man. I'm blaming it on my mother. I'm a fat shameless because I was raised by one. But I think our parents were much more alarming in how they
Yeah.
dealt with body shaming than we are.
But there's also very different types of body shaming as well. I mean, if you call me Mac or call me Makand, I know it comes out of you like me. It comes out of affection. But I mean, for instance, our president, I do not agree with a lot of things that he does. I'm not a particular. I'm not particularly a fan of his presidency and so on. Even though there are certain things that he's done very well. Hey, Matamera, when it comes to how you dealt with Trump, I'm with you. The ICJ, I'm behind you and so on. But, there is a section of our population that body shames him so much, particularly in my home province of KwaZulu-Natal.
Right.
Even the struggle songs, even when Satu teachers are singing, they're talking about his face and they're talking about his nose. And it's just ugly. It truly is ugly.
It is an ugly thing about this.
Ugly.
I'm just trying to think if my friends from other countries, particularly on the continent, are as fat shamist or just generally shaming other people the way we are. It's something that's quite common in our society. I guess it's part of the point of this conversation. And we hope that it's one thing to do it against somebody who's short or somebody who's chubby like me. But it's another when you do it against, when it's the thing about it is key being when people can't do anything about it. Because if you're, for example, handicapped or differently abled, you've got something physically
wrong
that may not be considered normal or typical, that we should really measure our words. Watch how you speak to children.
Particularly children.
I
mean, the same way that my son, my last born, who is now 17, who's Hayo, to this day, he doesn't, when he laughs, he almost like tries to hide his teeth because he learned when he was sort of 5, 6, 7. You know that age when children it's just hammer time down there in the teeth. They're losing tooth. One is growing bigger than the other, and his teeth were not okay. And at some point, he didn't have any teeth. And there were family members, extended family members, who made fun of him, and it has affected him to this day, where the boy has got such a beautiful smile, but he hardly ever will go. He never does a Satchmo.
Right. Okay, now Satchmo is a bit much.
Did you just put a shame Satchmo no matter?
Maybe. I'm just saying, his smile was too big. Miles Davis never liked the way Satchmo smiled.
Of course.
He really, really didn't. He felt it a bit coonish.
Yeah. I was about I wasn't sure whether we can use that word, but we can. Like, yeah, no, Satchmo did have a bit of a coonery thing going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he certainly did.
Yeah.
But yes, so let's admit that
Yeah.
this is a problem amongst ourselves
Yeah.
and watch the way we speak
Particularly to
to
children.
people about the things that they particularly cannot change. But also, to be most importantly, things that are none of your business
Really?
because it's got nothing to do with you.
What does your height have to do with me? Ngingenaphi?
Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to Still Uncaptured. We carry on the conversation. I have a contentious one for you
Sure.
to talk about.
Sure.
And there's a word that is used. I don't know how it came about. Marui, there's something called a breadwinner. Yeah, and I don't know if it's a South Africanism or if it's
No, it's not.
it's from
no,
everywhere.
no, no.
Okay,
It's a
breadwinner
global,
meaning the person who brings the bread home or
Although
the
that
bacon
said,
home.
in South Africa, it's got a very special connotation versus how it's just used elsewhere. A breadwinner is really just a positive term that has to do with just the fact that that person works when no one else in the house is working. They bring
Right.
they bring in the bacon.
They
right?
bring in the bacon,
Yeah.
basically.
But in South Africa, it does have a bit of a thing.
It's loaded.
It's loaded. Yeah.
So, could you be in a relationship with someone who has no potential to earn?
You know, when we were talking about this, and I gave you an answer, and my answer I think was no, I absolutely can. I get it. You know that there might be someone that if they don't work or they don't earn enough, where it's basically just whatever money they're earning is really just for their cosmetics and that sort of thing. I suppose I could be okay, but also I think it comes from me being a man, which means that as much as I am a very conscious person, but I walk around with some level of misogyny, patriarchy. It still rules me, and therefore that would be. But then I thought a lot more about it afterwards, and I realized that part of the reason that I have been married to my wife for almost 21 years now is precisely because she she works. It's important to me that I am with someone who spends their life in an endeavor that is profitable, that gives her a sense of confidence that my wife doesn't need me financially. She really doesn't. If I dropped dead today, touch wood and so on, she would feel my lack of my the fact that I'm not present anymore. But financially, she'd ultimately just be okay. And I love that feeling because I don't think I want anyone to be so beholden to me for money. And
Right.
yourself?
Hell no. It
Hell
couldn't
no.
work. No,
Yeah.
I couldn't.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because I was raised in a patriarchal country or
Yeah.
system where first of all my mother and all the women that I grew up seeing have
Yes.
always been contributors to the household coffers.
Yeah.
So the idea of a housewife is very foreign to me. I grew up
Yeah.
without knowing any housewives, basically. If you're saying that women who don't work. So for me, women have always, and history tells us, women have always been economic contributors to
Of
the
course.
economy and to the
Yes.
household. I think because their chores have been reduced to sort of like domesticity, there was a time where people said sort of like tend to think or like, oh, women, now that women are working, and I always ask the question,
When did women not work?
When did it work?
When?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But our chores were not necessarily monetized
Yeah.
in the same way that men were, obviously and we're talking like pre-colonial and post-colonial times.
Yeah.
In fact, women are known as the beasts of burden in African culture because physically there is so much expected of us.
The drawing of water from the river.
Yep.
The fetching of wood.
Indeed.
Because that was huge. I mean, that were women providing electric to the house.
Literally.
You were warming, the women were responsible for warming the house.
Yes.
For the cooking. They were the ones responsible for gathering vegetables.
Yes.
Because remember, our diets, meat was a delicacy. It was something when you hunted. I mean, particularly before even farming, came about.
Right.
So food, provision of food was always a woman's. So I'm with you. I'm
Yeah.
with you.
But I
Historically,
just sort of
yes.
like, in the modern times now, am I open-minded enough and am I feminist enough to be with somebody who doesn't work
Yeah.
or earn a living somehow? And the other thing is like, I'm a hustler, man. You know what I mean? Like, I work hard for my money. And there's a certain resentfulness I would feel of having to leave somebody sort of like at home doing nothing. Let's assume they do housework and all that, but I can do housework as well, so it's not exactly a game changer for me. But I couldn't emotionally or psychologically deal with someone who didn't work, man or woman for that matter, depending on which way I decided to swing.
One thing that I've done, and we talked about this, is and also you were there to actually witness it, where my wife was just really, really, really fundamentally unhappy at work, and I said to her, you know what, right now, there was a point where I had two radio gigs at the same time, East Coast Radio and Power FM and Sunday Times, and I said, nah, just take time off. It wasn't quite 2 years, but it was more or less we had agreed on 2 years, and we did it again. I think sort of 6-7 years later, where she just when we were doing Uncaptured, half the time Tebuka wasn't working. The reason I'm bringing that up is because I remember having to remind myself to be so mindful that it never gets to a point where this woman is now basically just sitting there waiting for me to say. So I needed to give her so much money that she could take care of anything. And it's going back to what you were saying, because the discomfort of coming back home and finding someone that hasn't gone to work, that is not making money, I knew that she herself was extremely uncomfortable. She really was. I could tell. So I needed to take care of that. And so it made it very complicated.
It
Yeah.
makes for interesting power dynamics.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because inevitably, the person who brings the bacon is in charge, so to speak. Except in South Africa, we've got a very weird pathology where you will find that even a man who doesn't work still
Yes.
expects to be the head of the household. How does that work exactly?
I have a friend, there's no need to go into names, who's female, who is relatively recently divorced. And do you know why they got divorced? It's because at some point she started making more money than him, like significantly more money than him, right? And it was a source of tension just in terms of their relationship. But then, speaking of that particular phenomenon, then he started saying to her, I need to have access to your banking apps. I need to have your pins for your apps. We need to now. Like, oh, hang on, brother, man. After 15 years
Right.
of you, when you had the money,
Right.
I did not know what you were doing with your money. I couldn't see.
Right.
Just now, because now I'm making the money, you want to come and want to now be able to do transactions on my banking app. No, but no, I am so sorry. And I know so many men, some of them my closest friends, who would disagree with me fundamentally when I say that was BS. It was bullshit on his part to expect that the wife needs to now reveal how much money is in her account when it hasn't happened before, when he was making the money.
Would he do the same if he was earning more money? That is the question. And of course he wouldn't.
Of course, there'd already been 15 years of him out earning her, and she had no idea, she had no say on his money. As soon as she starts making more money, so yeah, the whole breadwinner thing, it really wouldn't work for. And this is why I can never be a sugar daddy.
Right.
I do not know how to be a sugar daddy.
No, I a sugar mommy. No,
I don't know how to be a
be
sugar daddy.
there's got to be a certain amount of equality
Yes.
in a relationship. I'm a feminist, and I think that for us to respect each other, we need to just sort of like,
Yes.
basically, I think there needs to be some kind of equality around autonomy around one's finances?
Because for me as well, the respect, how much I respect the woman I'm married to. I absolutely I respect her so much because she's kick-ass, man.
She is.
In what she does, she is one of the best.
Right.
New product development, R&D. This woman is bright. She's brilliant. Never mind the fact that she's got like a master's in organic chemistry and so on. But I respect that. So when she comes home and she starts telling me about her day, it's something worth listening to. I sit down and I say, baby, hold that thought. And I go
Right.
make myself a drink and I sit down, and so she can tell me about her day. It's part of the relationship that we have. Yeah.
What do you think? Could you be with somebody who earns significantly less or more than you do? What does that do to the dynamics, the power dynamics in particular for that relationship? Talk to us on our social media. We'll be back after this. We're back with you on Still Uncaptured. You can't relate to this in particular because you've been married for so long. How long have you been married?
It'll be 21 years in July.
21 years in July.
21 years
Halala.
in July, yeah.
Yo, it's bad out there.
Is it that bad?
It's weird. Let me put it, it's not so much
Yeah.
bad as weird. Akina pelo.
Yes.
Do you know what that means? Or
Of
like,
course. Yeah.
or kina le pelo nyane.
Yes.
So,
Yes,
kina le pelo nyane.
You got a short fuse.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not going to body shame you, but it's just your shoes. It's just your fuse that's short. Shorty, I'm not going there. Short fuse. Yes.
Shut up, whatever. So, how people approach me, hey, it's kind of telling, But let's say, like, I'm a single woman, right? For all intents and purposes, or should we say divorced? I'm single. Basically, I'm available to date.
You're very single. I never think of you as a divorce.
As an ex-wife.
No, because it happened when you were so young.
Right.
You were a different person from the person that I got to know.
No, completely.
Completely
Oh,
different.
no, completely.
So
yeah.
I don't...
you can't relate to that other part of me. So let me put it this way. There's someone who hits me in my DMs ever so often. All right? And I don't know how to tell him, Hore, Wambora. Brother, you bore the shit out of me. You are not interesting. You have nothing to say. I don't want to talk to you. Like, I'm just not trying to, I don't want to be rude and block him, but I'm this close. Do you know what he does?
What does he do?
Hey.
Okay, and then?
And that's a whole WhatsApp.
What are you expected to do with hey?
I don't know, but I just look at it. I blue tick it. I blue tick it to like, hey, Kimang. Who the hell is, what am I supposed to say? When you say, hey, what am I supposed to say? Like, you've got nothing to say. I've got nothing to say. So why I want to talk about boring people.
Hey, yeah, no, boring people. I'll just say this, so you talk about a short fuse. I think that the word you are looking for when it comes to people who are not, how shall we say, interesting, who are people who are not engaging, and so on, you are completely intolerant. You are intolerant of boring people. I have seen you be so rude to certain people whose names shall remain. One of them was a former colleague of ours who so badly wanted to always be part of our conversations, because you and I will be just sitting in the kitchen and we just talk. Because even you and I, if honestly speaking, management, I mean, including here, we really always should have a camera or a recorder going on when we talk, because some of the best conversations you and I have are in between, right, of air. And so people would want to take part and partake in our conversations. And I remember you one time he comes and he starts talking. And it's just the three of us, so there's no way to hide. You just picked up your bag, mid-sentence. Brotherman is talking, you picked up your bag, and you just said, you find me in the studio. You just walk away from him. Because you just
I
can't. You can't.
I don't have the tolerance to sit there and listen to someone and pretend that I'm engaged. Won't happen. And I know it's rude. I can't help it. I just feel like this is a waste of my time.
There's a friend of mine. Thank God, I think this nickname we only have between Tebuko and I for him. So every time, and I've saved him on my phone as Holomisa. I think the General Bandu Holomisa, I think he's a very interesting man, but his delivery when he speaks, it was that. So this guy speaks like, so when he calls me, I just put him on speakerphone and I continue with my life.
Right.
Because he can go on for 7 minutes
Right.
with no sense that he's boring me. So he's not even waiting for me to say, he doesn't need it. He just...
So he doesn't do sort of like, hello, are you
no,
still there?
No. He's boring. So I can only imagine someone boring you like that, and they are what do we call it? A potential love interest? Well, not even. He's a suitor, right? He's trying to, because a relationship requires that you find each other enchanting. Actually,
you know the word repartee.
Repartee.
Nothing turns me on more than great repartee. An exchange of intelligent ideas.
Sartre and
Simone de Beauvoir.
Do you know what I mean?
That kind of vibe, where people are intellectually stimulated, where you challenge each other, right? And it's not like I want people to agree with me or to entertain me. It's an exchange. It's in the exchange of ideas. So when you send me a WhatsApp that says, hey, like you're insulting my intelligence.
And then you wait for an answer. So you're waiting for...
Yeah, literally waiting for an answer.
What else can you say to hey?
Because I feel like young laws are like, what do you want? And that goes across the board. Like, if you send me a WhatsApp, I want to know what you want. Hi, Komoto. This is so-and-so. This is what I need from you. End of discussion. Don't try to draw me in with good morning. And then you leave it like that, because you're not likely to get a good response from me.
One of the things that part of why the show is what the show is about is also the irreverence, where I can say things. For instance, I'll say, just because I've been married for 21 years should not necessarily mean that I have not engaged in that sort of conversation with people. People come into my DMs as well.
Right.
I speak to people as well, and we talk, and sometimes you're interested and you're thinking, what type of mind? Do you know what I mean? So I understand exactly what you're talking about, where sometimes you might think someone is interesting, and then just your exchanges makes you realize, what? I don't want to know this person. This person has nothing interesting. There is no story that I'm going to get out of this person. There's nothing there. Rather, just just go your own way.
Yeah. No, without that. Because is it because we have, or I have, maybe in particular, a ridiculously low attention span?
I don't think so. I think that it's not a negative. It's not really you responding to something negative. It's actually a positive thing. So what you are looking for, you basically are saying you want someone to be interesting.
Right.
They need to be engaging. They need to. In fact, I don't think you could be with anyone who's not a good storyteller. I don't think you could never be with anyone who doesn't challenge you. I don't think you
for sure.
You could have a life partner who says yes, dear, to everything you say. You don't want that.
And part of my problems remaining in formal employment has been about, if you're my boss and I think you're stupid, I've kind of let it be known, or I've shown it, which is not a politically correct.
Particularly when you are mapoloba, you are ikati, and these things affect you and your ability to take care of your children, and you are working with someone who can look at the boss and say, you're irritating. So
I know. I'll be better. I swear. I'll be better. But remember, we used to have a boss. Name shall remain
yeah, yeah, yeah.
nameless.
Yeah.
We used to call him Solly,
I can't believe you just shared that.
short for soliloquy.
Jeff Muloi, it was you, myself, Jeff Muloi, who knew
Who
that
came up with Solly? Who knew that we could call him Solly?
there was Solly.
Solly could talk the leg of a hind horse, the hind leg of a horse. You know that expression,
Yeah.
right? This man could get into a soliloquy completely unprovoked.
A monologue to end all monologues.
Somebody who can speak for 20 minutes uninterrupted is really not serious with life. 20 minutes, who do you think you are? There's like 4 people sitting here. You're speaking for 20 minutes. I didn't come here for a speech.
And he would get really upset if someone tried to interrupt.
He would.
Like it's been 45 minutes. Dude, do you remember a day he came into a meeting that we had, the work situation that we're in, and he had a bottle of water in his hand, and he started saying to us, water is important. Water is this. Water is that. We're sitting there going, where is this conversation?
I'm like, are we being given a lecture about
on water? He went on, and so after about 20 minutes, you tried to put your hand up to say, is this going anywhere? The look he gave you. And you were just like, setback.
Because the thing is, he had power, right?
Power.
So sometimes I walk away, but sometimes people wield their power around me.
Yes.
And it's very difficult, but I think my body language really should tell you. You need to be able to read people's body language. And Elena, as a person, like I say, you can't be sitting with 4 people and give a 20-minute speech because it means you're socially inadequate.
You can't read the room.
Socially illiterate.
Completely inept.
Completely inept.
So you don't even because when I'm having a conversation with you, I can tell when I am irritating you, or you probably just want to say, okay,
wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Because that's what you do as well. Okay, good. I hear you. Wrap it up. Wrap it up. So I can only imagine. I mean, I've got an aunt who is married to easily the most. So just to get back to where we started about dating, married to the most. What are the words to use for that man? Completely undynamic. The guy. I have known this man for 53 years of my life. He has never said anything interesting that I remember. I can't quote anything he's ever said to you. Not even some people are accidentally funny.
Right.
Because they, so inept. He is just not interesting at all. One time I was like, how do you live with someone? I had to ask.
Right.
I'm like, how can you live with him? She was just like, you clearly do not know me. You do not understand. Like, I had men before who could talk, who said, I just wanted someone dependable next to me. I love him like this. He says nothing. He doesn't stimulate me. I find stimulation elsewhere. I read. I do this. This man, I'm not looking.
Need that in a husband.
She does not need it in a husband.
Interesting.
Very interesting, yeah.
So, viewers, you've been warned. When next we meet, make it interesting. We'll be back right after this.
Don't be a holomisa. Don't be no man.
We're back with you on Still Uncaptured. And next, I want to talk about something that happens quite often. One of my cousins had their WhatsApp hacked. And so we all got messages sort of like, hi, Kaz, can you please send me 1,500 rands to this number? But it's interesting because they weren't giving the number that I'm used to. Yeah. It was a weird number. And then they didn't realize that we've got a family WhatsApp group that had told us that cousin Spani Bani has lost her phone. So if anybody asks for money, please kind of like beware. And I just laughed at the person and be like, sorry, you're late. But have you ever been properly scammed? Successfully?
Lalela-ke mina eGoli ngafika ngiphethe isikhwama esincane. Ngigoduka mina. Jim comes to Joburg. in the proper sense. Do you know where I spent the first night, my first night in Joburg, when I first came to Joburg in
Where?
94? At George Koche Hostel. But that's a story for another day.
Okay.
I'm a proper Nzulu. Jim comes to
Okay.
Joburg. Yobang fikisile Joburg. 2003, I remember. And by the way, what you're talking about, the WhatsApp scam, my brother-in-law, Tabang, you know Tabang, is going through it right now. Like, there's someone asking, who's hacked his WhatsApp, is asking us for money. Fortunately, Tabang had a foresight to be like, hey guys, I've been hacked, and so on and so forth. But anyway, so I get here 2003, I'm in Wattville, I'm having my car washed, and honestly. So I, at the time, Tebogo just bought herself a Megane too, a Renault Megane, and this guy was driving a black Megane, but remember the one with the funny one, the funny
hatchback.
funny ass, yeah, hatchback and so on. So I just started, how's the car treating you and so on and so forth. We're talking about the car. And then he's like, come through here. And he opens the boot and he's got like boxes upon boxes of phones. I don't know if you remember that phone. There was a Nokia phone at the time, 2003. It was like a bit bulgy and it like a joystick in the middle. So it was very popular and so on. And I think it was going for about 3,800 Rand at the time, which was a lot of money for a phone back then, right? And long story short, guy gives me this deal. No, you just give me 3,000 Rand. I'll get you 10 of these phones, and then you can sell them at a markup. I calculate, because do you know how scams work? They need 2 ingredients. Do you know what those ingredients are?
One is probably greed.
Stupidity and greed. And I was stupid and greedy. But it was the greed that made me stupid.
Right.
So I'm seeing money. I'm like, no, I can come to people and say, no, I'm selling them for 1.8. I'm making 1.5. Voila, I've got 15 grand and so on and so forth. Does this guy not proceed to then give me money of his? And he's like, oh, please just hold on to this 2,400 Rand for me because my girlfriend or my wife goes through my things. Because do you know why they called con man? Confidence. He gave me 2,400 Rand. I was like, no, this is real. I'm going to keep it 3,000 Rand. What was my salary in 2003?
I don't know.
I'm willing to share it. I had just reached a previously unknown height of earning 7,200 Rand. It was a lot of money. So 3,000 Rand is very close to like half my salary.
Right.
Did I not go and give this man my 3,000 Rand? We drive to Edenvale. He says, oh, park here in the car. This is a back room deal. He goes into a shop. Ask me when he came out.
He never did.
I'm waiting for him. Bongani, Bongani. He went just in the passage.
Wait, where was his car, Gandhi?
I was driving him. So he clearly must have had someone waiting for him on the other side. So he's like, no, let's drive in your car.
So the money that he'd given you that convinced you that he's real, where was that money?
I gave it back. I gave it back to him, and then I gave him my 3,000 Rand. And that's when I got the official certificate. Welcome to Joburg, Jim.
Right.
Welcome to Joburg. Have you ever been scammed?
I've never been scammed. I've been quite lucky. I've never been scammed. I've been skeptical. I was skeptical, but I did watch something on Netflix.
Yes.
About a confidence artist of sorts. Like, you know, these influencer types. And it's called, no, it's not a documentary. It's a series. I think 3-part series.
What's it called?
Apple cider vinegar.
Okay, I gotta watch
apple cider vinegar. Because you know they think apple cider vinegar is supposed to be like the cure all. Drink it in the morning, drink it with lemon, like it cures this, it cures
there's
that.
apple cider vinegar in my cupboard as
we speak,
in
right?
My fridge,
most of us do have apple cider vinegar. But it's about this woman in Australia, young woman in Australia, who basically faked having a brain tumor and healing herself with a healthy diet. So she set up an app where she would give you examples of what to eat. But the key was that she sold it on, I cured myself of cancer. You know, she says, she keeps saying, I was given 6 weeks to live, 3 months max. But in a space of this many months, I was able to turn it around. So there's a lot of people out there selling snake oil that we buy into. I mean, you can see, I don't know how many days, and they must know that I'm fat because I don't know. I get these apps all the time. Like, Bariking na, exercising on your while you're sitting, where you don't have to get up, basically.
Calisthenics for me, I get them on Facebook all the time.
Do you know what I
but
mean?
also worryingly, someone has been talking because I get a lot of penis enlargement ones as well. I didn't think I had a problem, but clearly someone was unhappy.
But listen,
Yes.
it's obvious that penis size is a problem in South Africa.
Yeah.
I don't know in other parts of the continent, okay?
Yeah.
Because everywhere in town you go, there's an advert for penis enlargement. And I'm like, how bad is this problem? I thought them brothers were packing heat. Can't you know? You people are walking around with little ding-a-ling-a-lingers. Huh? Anyway, so apple cider vinegar, it's
Yeah.
about a health scam.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
there's a lot of health scam, whether try this diet. And because they will, it's for the gift that keeps on giving. Because if you claim to come up with a diet, well, what I mean, like now, if I
Yes.
lost 20 kilograms now, everybody's gonna wanna know. So I want to make sure, like, I have a scam nicely coming so that I can make a lot of money when I lose weight. Not if, when I lose weight. So that I can sell myself.
Yeah.
But it's easy to believe, particularly when you're so sick. And so they follow sort of like 3 different characters
Yeah.
who all have different kinds of cancers. And how many of them try to go the alternative medicine route, because that's what it's called. Not to say that we should only believe in big pharma and chemotherapy and radiation. But, cancer is like quite a serious thing. And I think that there sometimes are miracles, and then some people are healed by things that are beyond our control. But for the most part...
For the most part, when you listen to... Don't listen to Mel Gibson tell you that things like, you can cure yourself of cancer, with hydroquinone.
Funny you should say that.
Mel Gibson is just gone off his rockers.
Is that what he's saying?
Yeah, he's got, people, no one's talking about it. Big pharma. Oh, blah, blah, blah. All you need to do is just drink this, and you need to drink this. And
No way.
No less a global phenomenon as Joe Rogan is in on it. And they sit and they speak about it, and they make it sound like normal that people are talking about the fact that, like, Western medicine. I am as much a conspiracy theorist as anyone, and I think that big pharma does not help because big pharma charlatans.
Right.
I'm not afraid to say that a lot.
And they're in it for the money.
They're
not in it for our health.
For our health. But if you want to actually believe that the entirety of the medical value chain, from oncologists and your GPs, everyone is in on this conspiracy to hide the fact that you can just drink hydroquinone and cure cancer. Come on.
Guess what the name of the Australian woman is?
What's her name?
Mel Gibson.
Oh, Mel Gibson.
I swear to God.
There you go.
Mel Gibson, Belle Gibson.
Don't listen to anyone called Gibson.
From Australia.
From Australia. Yeah. And Mel Gibson, actually, I think, has got Australian connections, actually, come to think
He's
of it.
from Australia.
He's from Australia.
Yes, he is.
I thought maybe I thought I was...
No,
I was,
don't
I
you
was
remember
imagining.
Lethal Weapon before that came out and whatnot? He's actually Australian.
He's Australian. So.
Yes.
But we've had these people in our... in our realm, right?
Yes.
And so on. I mean, do you remember that we once had a Dr. Eugene Yati, who was the official, like, what was he? Special advisor to the Premier of... It was Advocate Mathis Posse, who was the Premier at the time.
We've certainly had that.
We've had that.
At some point at Tuflop, there was a young man who called himself Dr. Chaucer.
Oh, yes.
This was in the 80s, basically. So scammed her way to the university and taught there for a few months before somebody said, "Hi, man. There's something a bit wrong here. Like, there's something wrong with this person.
Something's not adding up.
Something's not adding up." But there he is, that he taught there for months.
And shame, man, there was also this boy, very good-looking boy, who was he's a fake medical doctor.
Dr. Matthew.
Is Dr. Matthew?
Dr.
Yes,
Matthew. Yes, completely.
But can I tell you an interesting story about fake doctors?
Yeah.
When I was in high school and bits of varsity, probably like the first sort of 3-4 years of varsity. The family doctor that I went to was a Dr. Singh, who used to be at the Roman Catholic Church, Umndeni Oyingcwele, in Hammersdale. He had rooms there, so he hired rooms in the church, and he was practicing there. To this day, best GP I ever had, except for one thing.
He wasn't a doctor.
No. He was not a doctor. Like, he's the type of doctor that would come to you and he would say to you, you know, here's the thing about influenza, flu. Remember, flu is a virus. I know university, you're studying microbiology, so you know that there's no cure for any virus. And so all you can do is really just strengthen your immune system so that you find secondary. So he would explain things so well. His science was sound. And
was he like a failed medical student or something?
Yeah, I think he went up to like 4th year.
Okay.
He went up to 4th year, and then I think he had an older or younger brother. And so he basically made a copy of
his certificate.
Of the certificate.
Don't go too far. Remember, there was Thabo Bester. He who managed to escape a whole jail. He who managed to seduce a medical doctor while in prison.
My goodness. Sometimes, like, we have so many things going on in our midst that we actually get so desensitized.
Yeah.
Thabo Bester.
And he used he used to host things from prison and saying that he's in New York City.
He's in New York City.
Yeah.
Like a press thing. Yeah. He was launching like some IT company.
Zoom.
And you think about it, it's like, how brilliant was this man? Because, interestingly enough, do you remember when he was making his court appearances and we were all watching? Do you realize how many women he seduced even there? That man, because that's actually what it is, the art of seduction. That's what charlatans do. They get you into a spell. They seduce you. You want to be with them.
Yeah.
Yes. I was just like, Ubangani, uzamnika 3,000. Ngithola amafoni ayi-10.
And wamnika ngempela Ubangani 3,000 yonke. We'd love to know if you have a story to share where you were scammed and you were scammed good. Please hit us up on our social media pages. Until next time, goodbye.